say hello. I hope it's him. Abe Mandez with Knight Capital Research, and Nick Holland with Yankee. And so I was hoping to start the panel off with probably the most provocative question I can think about, right? And who are the real winners and losers in all of this? That's a tough question to answer, but you know, what companies are kind of staying at the forefront, and you know, what technologies are really out there and seem to really be ahead of the pack. Anyone who wants to start?
AB, I'll just kind of chime in. I'll talk a little bit about potential winners. I thought your comment earlier about PayPal was interesting. I think one thing that is less talked about and should be more talked about with respect to the potential of mobile wallet is just the value of the data. Because you might, I think about the question all the time, will people eventually have as many payment apps on their smartphones as they have credit cards in their wallet? And you know, maybe yes, maybe no, maybe one per use case or per card and so forth. But I think what will eventually happen is the app developers and the platform developers, like Android, like Apple with iOS, that can build a true mobile wallet that integrates multiple different payment options, rewards options, and so forth, and that gives the user the sort of powerful data that I think they probably ultimately will want. You know, what are they spending money on? Who's giving them the best value, rewards, so forth? Just this kind of real-time data and sort of aggregate feedback. I think those true mobile wallets through which multiple cards and payment apps can flow are the biggest potential winners. So what Apple's passbook could be, what Google Wallet could be if they put more analytics on top of that. I think Microsoft, when they launch Windows 8 and Windows Phone later this month, will be ready to support NFC-powered devices, a broad range of payment options. So I think those kind of mobile operating system owners and operators have a great, tremendous potential, and it's less on margin or on the payment itself, but more on the data side.
Nick?
I'll go, yeah.
Yeah, go, chime in.
So I think, I mean, okay, there's a couple of companies I'd say that I think are going to be fine. I'd say those would be Visa and MasterCard. You know, I think fundamentally a lot of the initiatives you see are just changing the veneer, the very edge of the payment, and they're still going to use the existing payment rails. As a more general kind of insight, I'd say the payment, you know, the companies that get it are the ones that get that it's not about payments. It is about the bigger value proposition. And to your point, yes, it is about the data. You know, you don't want to reinvent payments, they work fine. So if you're focusing kind of on that, then you're in a lot of trouble. You know, you don't want to totally reinvent the wheel. I will add on to that. You know, there are companies like obviously PayPal out there that could provide a value proposition that is more competitive than say Visa and MasterCard are at the moment. So I mean, there's winners and losers. I think the ones that, you know, obviously. I'm not a big fan of ISIS. I've been fairly public about that. I think that their focus on a technology that doesn't really exist yet is going to be a bit of a problem. And you know, the companies that are leaner, that are prepared to go with cloud-based wallets, focusing on say QR codes, are again the ones that are clearly gaining traction right now. So you know, the Starbucks initiatives, or what Square's doing, particularly like companies like Level Up, sort of dynamic startups, tapped out. You know, you can't focus that much on the handset. So I'd say actually, and the final thing is probably the mobile operators themselves are going to be cut out of the value chain.
I mean, to the data point, you know, I mean, that's where, you know, banks feel like they have the most competition, right? They want that transaction data. I mean, who's really disintermediating the banks and all that? I mean, among the startups, I mean, not among the ideas, but among the startups that are out there today, who's really stepping in and saying, you know, this data is ours, and we're disintermediating the banks completely. I mean, who's like the biggest threat?
Well, could I just chime in on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So I cover the handset space, so more on the technology and.
Is it on?
Oh, there it is. So I cover the handset space for IDC, and obviously I do agree with the fact that handsets and the value and the technology is not really going to be affected. chipsets you need for an NFC piece of hardware, basically nothing. There's no real cost to the BOM. But what I do see is lots of interesting plays. Now, on the vendor side, or on the mobile operator side, you have to remember that there's two different worlds out there, right? There's a world where the mobile operator doesn't pay for the handset, and there's called the open market in India. That's a primary example, and until recently, China. But in the U.S.,
I think you're just having a lot of trouble.
okay.